Hello, all the cricket fans. I'm back, Yuvraj Du, of course, along with none other than Monty Panesar. I don't think he needs any introduction. Former England cricketer and current best friend of ours, another cricket expert we've got on board. We always do a segment with him, Week with Monty Panesar, in which we discuss all the games of the past week. Last time we left it at Chennai versus Delhi, if I remember correctly. The seventh match was held at Dubai. We left it at 25th September, and now we'll begin from 26th September, of course, the second week of the IPL. Monty Panesar. Monty, how are you feeling after 1 week of the IPL? How's it been?
Yeah, it's been a bit of a roller coaster ride, to be honest. Initially, when the first few games happened, it looked like we may not see big totals, and then suddenly, when there's a game in Sharjah, I think everyone's tuning in the UK because they know they're going to be getting sixes and fours, and it's been a brilliant game. Like even this, today, with Sunrisers. Playing today against Mumbai Indians. Another great game. But I think the balance is right. I think I saw Shane Warne make this comment why it should be changed, but it's not really a big issue, to be honest, because we get really good games in Dubai, and Sharjah is just a run fest, and it's just, we know 200 will chase 200. If that was happening in most games, then I'd say, it's probably favored towards batsmen. But again, we've got to give it to the Indian sporting media, the Indian governing bodies. They just know how to entertain the IPL and still make it the best league in the world.
Definitely, I think one of the biggest, if not the biggest league in the world. It does look a little lopsided, a little bit skewed in favor of the batsmen whenever we come to Sharjah. It's always raining sixes, but in Dubai and Abu Dhabi, it's always a different story. First, let's begin with the Kolkata versus Hyderabad game, Monty. In this game, you would remember Ridhiman Saha scoring 30 of 31, and he struggled a little bit. Mohammad Nabi also played in this game. Hyderabad just got 142 in their quota of 4 overs, and Kolkata chased it down easily. Shukman Gill, 70 of 62, match-winning performance. How did Shukman Gill look to you in that innings? He paced his innings really well. 70 of 62 did what was exactly required, and looked beautiful while batting, this youngster, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's obviously very well liked in India, and even Sunil Gavaskar has said that he's his favourite batsman, and he seems to. I think this year is a great year for him to. I think he's just growing as a player, and he's occupying the crease. He's kind of like. Showing a bit of maturity now, in his innings, and he's able to take that sort of extra responsibility, towards his game in T20. Ideally, I would like to see him, play sort of like yesterday. The Delhi captains, Delhi Capitals, captain Iyer. Who scored 88 of 38 balls. It'll be nice to maybe see him play one of them sort of, strike rate over 200 and in the first 6 overs, get a quick 50. That would be nice to see that if you can do that.
He does look mature beyond his years, to be honest, but I think he needs to develop his game more so that he can play these blistering innings that are required in the middle to win the games, of course. Then we move on to another run fest of a game at Sharjah. You would remember, Monty, of course, Punjab versus Rajasthan, where Punjab got 223 in the first innings, courtesy Mayank Agarwal's brilliant century, and KL Rahul amply supported him at the other end. But Rajasthan chased it down. Rahul Tewatia, 53 of 31. What did he do there, Monty? What was that all about, Rahul Tewatia?
Yeah, look, these youngsters play without fear, and they just if this. I think what I've noticed about especially the Indian, domestic players who are playing in the IPL, if they know what the score is, if they know what they need to chase, they can they know how to construct the innings, and they find it a lot easier to actually play these sort of amazing innings like they do. It's when you tell them to say, right, go out and set us 200, and they're a little bit unsure. They're like, well, what's a good score, and I think that's why the experienced players in the Indian team who are in the different IPL teams, I think would help these youngsters immensely. I think once they know what the target is set, you'll see amazing innings like these.
Yeah, the fearless factor you mentioned, of course, they've got a lot of nerve today, the youngsters, and it's paying them dividends. We saw Rahul Tewatia struggling off the first 20 balls, and next 11 balls, an absolute blitzkrieg chasing down 200 plus. Then again, another 200 plus game between Bangalore and Mumbai. This went down to a super over, Monty, of course, 201 for both teams. Ishan Kishan missed out on a century, got out on 99. Why didn't they send him in the super over? What was the rationale behind that?
Well, I think I just think that they still believe they quite believe him to take on such responsibility, but it's a difficult one. Super over is it's like a penalty shootout, really, isn't it? If you pick one of the players and they do really well, suddenly the captain's applauded, the management team's applauded. If you get it wrong, then suddenly you think, oh, why didn't we take these players in? It's a hit or miss. It's a hit or miss. But I think what we're seeing is that where there's in the games where you kind of think that one of the teams are out of the equation, they somehow find a way of getting back in. And that's what makes IPL such a huge attraction. You don't see that. Like I was watching the T20 Blast. We had the couple of the quarterfinals, and I felt like it's a huge contrast. I've been watching IPL, being blessed to watch it every day, and then suddenly I watched a T20 Blast game, and I thought, I'm watching a different game. Is this like 5-10 years ago? It's so slow. I'm used to these big sixes, amazing fielding stops, and that's when you realise like how good the IPL is. The contrast between the T20 Plus and IPL is huge.
Definitely, I think IPL does have that X factor, and it is way different than all the leagues. So many cash-rich franchises playing. There are a lot of high stakes involved, and it does make it the best league in the world without a doubt. Then we move on to the next game, Monty. Hyderabad versus Delhi. Hyderabad got 162 for 4 in the first innings. Williamson came into the 11 in this match instead of Mohammad Nabi, scoring 41 of 26. They did manage to defend 162. The Delhi fell short by 15 runs rather. Would you have Williamson in your side, or would you prefer Mohammad Nabi as the specialist all round in your side? Tough question, I know, but who would you choose?
Well, I saw Kane Williamson today. He bowled a few overs, and even Matama Litharan, the bowling coach, said, "Well, I'm actually, trying to get the best out of his bowling because we probably need him, to bowl." And he's actually played 44 games in the IPL, and he hasn't taken one wicket. And then suddenly they throw the ball to him, and they say, "Well, there you go, mate. Get us a wicket on a flat deck where it's raining sixes." And actually, I think it's not a bad strategy because the pressure is all on batting. This is batsmen hitting sixes, and suddenly, the first ball he bowled, he nearly got Quinton de Kock out. So it's I think it's a better option than Mohammad Nabi because you only need to bowl 12 balls, and if them 2 overs, let's say under 10 and over, for example, or ideally but 15 runs, let's say, I think he's done his job with the ball. But his batting is much more valuable than Mohammad Nabi's. While Mohammad Nabi has to take wickets, if he doesn't, then suddenly his place is under threat. And in a small ground like Sharjah, I would probably play Kane Williamson because you rather have a stronger batting lineup than actually bowlers who having a bowling all-rounder.
I think Hyderabad realized it well enough that they do need to bolster their batting because they were lacking somewhere in the middle order. Manish Pandey was doing well, but apart from Johnny Bairstow, David Warner, and Manish Pandey, there was almost nothing down the order. So I think a good choice, Kane Williamson, of course. Then we move on to the next game, Monty, Kolkata versus Rajasthan. Kolkata got 174 for 6 in the first innings, and Rajasthan were bundled out for 137, falling 37 runs short of the Kolkata total. Highlight of this game would again be, I think, two 20-year-old lads, Kamlesh Nagarkoti and Shivam Mavi. How good does this small partnership look to you of Kamlesh Nagarkoti and Shivam Mavi?
Well, I think that this has probably been the success story of the IPL. We always look for, every year there's been, players either from Nepal or Afghanistan who come over and, the IPL's changed their careers, and that's another success story of the IPL. And this was a great story where it showed, really good management. Like sometimes there's certain players who kind of feel like, well, my team didn't back me. They suddenly, got rid of me and they replaced me with someone else. They really invested in these players. Both of them were kind of like, carrying injuries, and they sent them to London, got treated medically really well, and they came back. And the likes of Rahul Dravid, who's a brilliant coach, kind of was a reflection on them as players. They're very humble, and the old saying, in Indian cricket, the mentality is, I would rather have the questions be answered on the ground than on the interview. You don't have to, as a young player, be a great person to interview, but as long as both of them are answering the questions on the field, I think the likes of, Shah Rukh Khan will be very pleased.
Definitely, I think they are letting the ball do all the talking. And Kamlesh Nagarkoti and Shivam Mavi, both of them are gun fielders as well. So a bright future for India, I think. They have the problem of plenty, but I think a good problem to have in such a huge country. Then we move on to the Mumbai versus Punjab game. It was a little bit of a despairing game for Punjab. Mumbai scoring 191 in the first innings. Rohit scoring 70 of 45. He certainly got back in form. And then Punjab fell 48 runs short. It was a bit again despairing, as I mentioned earlier. So Punjab, Monty, they've played fairly well in this tournament. They've looked really good. Mohammad Shami is chasing the purple cap. He's already got 8 wickets. KL Rahul and Mayank Agarwal at the top of the order have got 300 plus runs. Both of them are on the orange cap list. Still, they have registered just one win out of 4 games. Where is it going wrong?
I think it's the middle order. I think it's Glenn Maxwell, I'll be honest with you. I think he needs to really perform well. I think if Punjab has to, Punjab has to get to into the course playoffs, I think the missing link is, Glenn Maxwell. He has to perform like he did in England, and he just doesn't seem to be firing for whatever reason. And he like if there's a situation where he's got the responsibility to get Punjab over the line, he really needs to grab that, and turn them sort of games into wins. And I think that's the missing bit, for Punjab at the moment.
Yeah, I think he is the link in that order. But he can bring that balance to the side. Something just bites him when he comes to the Indian League. Wherever he performs, he gets man of the series, he gets man of the matches. But in the Indian League, just something gets to him. He's not been firing, of course. Next game, I'll pose you the same question, but let me first get you the scorecard. Hyderabad versus Chennai. Hyderabad scoring 164 for 5. Chennai in the end falling 7 runs short. MS Dhoni tried his level best to get them over the line, but failed in the end, and he was really disappointed with himself. Similar story with Chennai. 1 win out of 4 games. Where is it going wrong for them?
I think it's their batting order. I think Dhoni's doing his bit, but why isn't Sam Curran going up the order? If they lose an early wicket, I think in the power play, why don't they just put Sam Curran up the order? He's been scoring runs, and just tell him, look, you've got 10 to 20 balls to face, just go and whack it. And that's what he's really good at. And then there was like Dwayne Bravo, he didn't come out to bat. Jadeja, I think, is doing a pretty good job. It's again, it's the Indian players, it's the Indian youngsters in the team who like Rambati Raidu isn't really, he needs to go again. I remember asking you guys the question, why hasn't he played more for India? And I think he's answering it today. I think he's answering it for us. He is not stepping up as a senior player like he needs to. So it puts pressure on Dhoni to think, well, what do I do with the batting order? And I think especially when they're chasing, he needs to be a bit more flexible. He may need to put Sam Curran slightly up the order, get Dwayne Bravo. If the Indian domestic players are not performing, just put them down the order. Bring the overseas and put them up the order and shuffle the batting order.
I think you're quite right there. They need to assess the conditions. They need to play horses for courses. And whenever you require the amount of runs you do, you need to send Sam Curran in or Dwayne Bravo. Kedar Jadhav, he was sent up before them. Again, he's not doing the job being the senior player that we expect him to do. He's played a lot of matches for India, has a lot of experience. But I think again, age might be a factor again. It might be catching up to him. And that was the end of another episode of Week with Monty. Always lovely chatting to you, Monty. You're a lovely guy. I had a lot of fun again. And we'll see you next time. Keep watching SportsTiger. Next week, we'll come with another episode discussing games of the next week. Week with Monty Panesar. Signing off. And lastly, please follow Monty's channel on Twitter. You'll get everything you need there. And Monty is one guy you need to follow. Monty's channel on Twitter. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Monty.
Thank you very much, and I look forward to next week's episode.